Good afternoon. Thank you for joining us. A few hours ago, Trump had his sentence completely discharged by the judge in the state of New York. I would like to discuss briefly what that means and what to expect going forward. We had a preview of this in the Supreme Court ruling that was trying to have his sentencing date pushed back because he was going to become president. He was the president-elect. They said that he was not going to be getting any jail time. He was interviewed by a probation officer for a probationary report, and the probation officer criticized Trump, saying that he believed himself to be, quote, above the law, and was far from expressing any kind of remorse for his criminal conduct, and that Trump had encouraged others to reject the jury's verdict. Now, under normal circumstances, your behavior after conviction can be held against you for determining sentencing. Are you remorseful? Are you sorry for what you've done? Are you accepting of the fact that you have been found guilty? Trump has been none of these things. The judge attempted to make clear that it was not Trump himself that he was discharging the penalties for, but rather the position of President of the United States. He said, quote, "It is the legal protections afforded to the office of the President of the United States that are extraordinary, not the occupant of that office. The considerable, indeed extraordinary, legal protections afforded by the office of the Chief Executive is a factor that overrides all others. Those protections," the judge said, "are, quote, a legal mandate which, pursuant to the rule of law, this court must respect and follow." I am not a lawyer, so I've taught law at the high school level. I used to do mock trial. I have some basic understanding as a layman of the law. That's about it. But my understanding is that the legal protections are at the federal level, not at the state level. Now, there's been great concern about what would happen if Trump were sentenced to prison and how difficult that would be. New York went out of its way, the Department of Justice in New York went out of its way, the Department of Corrections in New York went out of its way to say, no, if he's fined for or found in contempt of court, bring him in, we're ready for him. Now, we discussed this and we were all sort of like, yeah, is that really true? Are you really ready for him? Or are you just kind of like, that's what you've got to say? Nonetheless, Trump was fined as if he's not above the law or above the court's jurisdiction during the trial. Why fine him if he's above the law? Why even have the trial? Why waste the jury's time? 34 counts is quite a lot. It's a lot for a jury to go through. And trying to telling that jury that its time was essentially wasted is and on what grounds, I don't know. The states can individually, if they want to, prosecute anyone in their jurisdiction, and he is absolutely in their jurisdiction, and he is not president right now during sentencing. So it's a little mind-blowing. Like I said, we had a preview of this when it was told to the U.S. Supreme Court he was not going to be getting any jail time. But the complete discharge means that he will not be facing probation. He will not be facing any monetary fines. He will be facing nothing, again, on the grounds that he is legally protected. If those grounds were true, the charges should never have been brought in the first place. So it appears to me like the judge is talking out of both sides of his mouth here. He wants to have the trial. He wants to say that everybody is held to the same standard and accountable, and then says, well, now that it's time to do something about it, we're not going to do anything about it. Having said that, Trump does remain a convicted felon, and that is non-inconsequential. That's going to affect his travel. Again, probably most of that's going to be ignored because he will be traveling as the President of the United States. It may have some impact on him in civilian life after his presidency. What impact that is going to be hard to say. I think the fact that he was the former president will have roughly the same effect. It'll override any concerns about him being a felon. So I'm glad, at least, that it's acknowledged that he broke the law and he's thus a convicted felon. But I'm not sure if that means there have been any consequences. And certainly if we are trying to say that we are a country or a nation of laws, and or that the states have rights independent of the federal government, this certainly doesn't bode well for that argument. At any rate, that is where we stand. He will be suffering no consequences whatsoever, not even a probationary check-in, nothing. No fines, nothing for his conviction. He is still convicted. He is still a felon, but he doesn't even have to follow any of the standard, felons have to, they get a probationary period or whatever, and all of that is wiped completely clean. And again, some of that I acknowledge. If he had to check in with a probation officer once a month or whatever, that would be prohibitive as president. So you start you wait the sentence down until after he's out of office. The justification here is, to the best of my limited legal understanding, is absolutely absurd and preposterous. And if it were true, if we were to grant it, then he should never have been prosecuted in the first place. So it's a self-defeating argument. But nonetheless, that is where we stand. The second thing is we want to talk about the fires. They have grown significantly. 400,000 people are now either under orders. It's 160,000, I believe, that are under orders to evacuate. The rest are under a warning that they may be at any time ordered to evacuate. To give you an idea of just how large these fires are, we're going to take a look first. We've got two satellite maps. This one is during the day, and the sort of downtown Los Angeles is, if I understand correctly, it's actually it's in the densest part of the smoke. It's not on fire, but it's in sort of the densest part of the smoke there on the south of the main fire. We also have a night. This is, I think, the Pasadena fire right here, and you can see the fire is spreading so rapidly that you can actually make out the embers of the homes that have already burned. The fires haven't gone out as it's gone from one neighborhood to another to another. It has lit up the entire town. It's an extraordinary sight to see. These again are being pushed by gusts of wind that are now down to about 60 miles per hour, but that cause the embers to fly and go cause other fires. My understanding is there's now 5 separate fires. One of the problems they're having, and this highlights something that we were discussing earlier, which is the drone problem. Canada has sent 2 super scoopers. These are planes that scoop up a huge amount of water to drop onto a fire. They're obviously extraordinarily important, and Canada, the soon-to-be 51st state, has been gracious enough to grant its brothers to the south 2 super scoopers. One of them was immediately disabled when it struck a drone. It's a civilian drone. Apparently a number of civilians have been flying drones to watch the fire and to, try to get whatever coverage they can of it. The problem is it's illegal in California to fly a drone over a disaster area, any kind of disaster area, whether it's mudslides, which they get, or fires, and so they're in violation of the law, and for obvious reason. Helicopters that carry water also need to be able to fly safely, and drones are a huge hazard in an already dangerous area. The wing has been significantly damaged. That plane is now grounded. Repairing it is the top priority, according to the governor. They believe they can get it back into operation on Monday, but my understanding on that one as well is that that plane had not even had its first successful flight, so that's one half of the Super Scoopers are down, and that's just less firefighting ability that they have at their disposal. As of this moment, again, to the best of our understanding, about 6% of the fire is contained, or 6% of the fires, and they continue to spread rapidly. Yesterday, the fire grew roughly one order of magnitude in a 24-hour period, from 700 acres to 7,000 acres. The winds have died down, so we are not expecting it to continue to grow at that rate, but nonetheless, this is expected to be the most expensive catastrophic event in California history, and it is not yet done, so we will be keeping an eye on that. For those of you just joining us, Trump's sentence has been completely discharged. He will be receiving absolutely no penalties whatsoever for his conviction on 34 counts of fraud. The reason given for this was because of the protections offered the president. I opined briefly on what I think is the absurdity of that position. If that really was their position, then they shouldn't have tried him in the first place. He's willing to try him. He's willing to waste the jury's time, willing to waste the news media's time, and willing to waste everybody else's time and arguments and appeals and all of that other stuff just to say, well, we can't really punish him. If we can't punish him, then we really shouldn't have been able to try him in the first place. But all that notwithstanding, that and the fires, will show you the fires once again for those of you who've just joined us. That is a daytime photo of the fires yesterday, and nighttime from last night. And again, the fires are moving so quickly that you can see just entire neighborhoods are still glowing before and aren't out before the fire just moves on to another town or another section. So it's pretty extraordinary to see. So we will be keeping an eye on that. Again, a reminder, Andrew Mercado, apologies for that, will be joining us on Monday, 9 p.m. We're going to be discussing his background and how he went from his difficult youth and the military to becoming a independent journalist. So I hope you will join us for that. That will be Tuesday. I think I said Monday earlier. Tuesday at 9 p.m. Eastern on In Time. We look forward to seeing you then. And until then, we hope you have a good evening and a good weekend.